Hello guys, welcome back to another tutorial. In today's video, I'm going to be showing us how to draft this beautiful straight dress that has a queen Anne neckline with a stylish bell sleeve. If this is something you are interested in, make sure you watch the video till the very end so that you don't miss out on any detail or explanation. And if you have not subscribed to my channel, do well to subscribe to this channel, turn on your bell notifications so that you will get notified when I drop a new video. Now let's get started with the video. I will be using this beautiful crepe fabric for this tutorial. What I'm having here is 3 yard. If you are on a bigger size, you can do 3.5 or 4 yard depending on how big you are. One thing I'm going to tell you is that to achieve this type of fitting, it depends on the type of fabric you are working with. Like for me, I am working with a stretchy crepe fabric. So when I was drafting, I didn't add any dart allowance. So basically there's no dart on this dress. And also I cut this as a straight dress. There is no half cut or half length, just a normal straight cutting. And as you can see, this fabric has pattern. So I'll be folding the fabric like this along the straight pattern. And because this fabric is stretchy along the width side of the fabric, I will be minusing some of my measurements. That is, I'll reduce 1 to 2 inches from my actual measurements before I mark it on the fabric. But if you are working with a cotton crepe fabric that doesn't have any stretch, you have to mark your actual body measurement, then you add your sewing allowances to it. But for me, I'm going to remove some inches from the actual measurements before I mark. So now I'm going to take this off camera to cut out the portion that I will be needing for the front piece, and I will be cutting this using the biggest body measurement on my body, which is the hip. So guys, I'm done cutting out the portion that I'll be needing for my front piece, and as you can see, this fabric is folded into 2. And like I told you before, I use my biggest body measurement, which is the hip, to cut out this portion, that is the wideness of this piece. Why the total length of this dress that I'm making is 45 inches. So I mark all this measurement on the bigger fabric, then I cut it out. Now we have a smaller piece to work with. If I said I'm going to fold and cut the fabric on the table will not be able to contain it. So that is why I have to cut out this small portion so that it will be easy for us to work with. Now the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to use my straight ruler to roll an horizontal line at this top here. This horizontal line is going to serve as the starting line or the shoulder line. Now the sweet thing about the drafting of this dress, we are going to be using freehand. So if you watch the pattern drafting where other creators use pattern paper, this is another method. It can be done without using pattern paper also. So this line is my shoulder line. Now the next thing I'm going to be working on is the neckline measurement, and the neckline that we are working with is Queen Anne neckline. And because I don't want any form of gaping, so the neck width I'm going to be working with is 2.5 inches. I mark this 2.5 inches like this. Then for the neck depth, I'll be coming down from the shoulder line by 3 inches, and I'm going to make a mark. For now, we will just be working with this basic round neckline. We are going to alter this neckline later to create our Queen Anne neckline, but put it in your mind that our neck width is 2.5 inches because we want to avoid gaping. So I'm just going to use my ruler to connect the 2 points together like this to create the round neckline. Now the next thing we are going to do is to mark the shoulder measurements that I am working with. Now half of the shoulder measurement that I am working with is 7.5 inches. Because this fabric is stretchy, you can decide to minus 1 inch from your shoulder measurement, but for me, I decided to make use of my full shoulder measurement like that. Then on this point, I mark half of my shoulder measurement. I'm just going to come down by 8 inches for the armhole line measurement. I will use my straight ruler to connect these 2 points together to create the armhole line, which is the straight line, and I will also extend this line horizontally like this, and this horizontal line is going to serve as the chest line. Now to slanten the shoulder, because our shoulder is not straight, on the armhole line I'm going to come down by 1/2 inch. Now I'm going to use my ruler to connect a slant line from this point to the neck width. Now to create the armhole curve, on the armhole line I'm just going to measure what I have left, and I'm going to divide this by 2 by bending the tape rule like this. I'm going to mark the midpoint just the way you see me doing. Then on this midpoint I'm going to come in by ½ an inch. After marking the ½ an inch, here on the chest line I'm going to mark 1/4 of my bust circumference measurement. Now my bust circumference measurement is 36. 36 divided by 4 is 9. So I made a mistake by marking the 9 inches on the chest line. I am supposed to minus 1 inch from the 9 inches. I'm going to correct this mistake later in this video. So right now I'm going to use my curve ruler to create the armhole curve just like this. Now let's mark all the vertical points. I'm just going to place my measuring tape on the shoulder line like this. Now from the shoulder line to my bust point is 10 inches. I mark that. Then from my shoulder line to my waistline is 16 inches. I mark that. From the shoulder line to the hip line is 24 inches. I mark that, though you can't see that right now. Then the total length of the dress I'm working on is 45 inches. Now I'm going to use my ruler to connect all of these points on a horizontal line. I'm sorry you didn't get to see the part where I marked the hip measurement, but you know the total length of the dress now. After the hip measurement is the length of the dress. I'm sorry you didn't get to see that. So guys, make sure you mark your own exact vertical measurement, okay? Now let's mark our body measurements. So here on the bust point, I'm going to repeat what I did on the chest line. I'm going to divide my bust circumference measurement by 4. Then I will minus 1 inch from it, okay? So my bust circumference measurement is 36. 36 divided by 4 is 9, minus 1 is 8 inches. So I mark 8 inches on the bust point. I hope you remember why we are minusing 1 inch, because the fabric is stretchy along the width side, okay? If the fabric wasn't stretchy, we will not be minusing 1 inch. So that is the mistake I made on the chest line. I was supposed to mark 8 inches on the chest line, but I went on to mark the actual bust measurement, which is 9 inches. I'm going to correct that later on in the video. Then here on the waistline, I'm going to minus 1 inch from 1/4 of my waist circumference measurement. Now my waist measurement is 30. 30 divided by 4 is 7.5. 7.5 minus 1 is 6.5. So I mark 6.5 here on the waistline. Then on the hip line, I'm going to do the same thing as well, okay? So I divided my hip circumference measurement by 4. Then I minus 1 inch from it. My hip circumference measurement is 40. 40 divided by 4 is 10. Then I minus 1 inch from it, making it 9 inches. So I mark 9 inches here on the hip line. Then on the length of this dress, I'm going to minus 2 inches from 1/4 of the hip circumference measurement. Remember, the 1/4 of my hip circumference measurement is 10 inches. Minus 2 is 8. So I mark 8 inches on the length of the dress. Now I'm going to mark 1 inch for the sewing allowance. You can decide to work with ½ an inch, which is still okay. So on the hemline or the length of the dress, I mark my 1 inch sewing allowance. On the hip, I did the same thing as well. I marked the 1 inch sewing allowance. On the waist, I marked the 1 inch sewing allowance, and on the bust point, I marked the 1 inch sewing allowance. Now this is where I corrected the mistake. When I measure what I have on the chest line and what I have on the bust point, I see that the measurements were not the same. So here on the chest line, I went on to correct that mistake. So I minus 1 inch from 1/4 of my bust circumference measurement. Then I added 1 inch sewing allowance to it. After that, I went on to use my ruler to connect the point together to create the body shape. After connecting all of the points together, I went on to cut it out. My phone stopped recording while I was cutting, but this is what it looks like after I was done cutting it out. Now let's work on the neckline. That is the Queen Anne neckline. Now the first thing I'm going to do is to measure the actual neck depth measurement that I want. So for my neck depth, I'll be working with a measurement of 7 inches. I marked that. Now I'm going to use my straight ruler to connect this point horizontally like this. Now on this line, that is this neck depth, I'm going to come in by 4 inches and I'll make a mark. Then here on this curvy part of my round neckline, I'm just going to come down by 2 inches and I make a mark. You can decide to work with 2.5 inches because mine was too high, so I wish I came down by 2.5 inches. So now I'm just going to use my ruler to connect the points like this. These 2 inches is where it connects the bead around the neckline. Mine was a little bit high. I wish I came down by 2.5 inches, but if you want your own at that point, you can use 2 inches like I did here. So that's basically it. We are done creating our queen and neckline. So now I'm just going to use my scissors to cut this out. Our front piece is ready. Now let's go ahead and draft the back piece. I have already folded another pieces of fabric that I'll be using to draft the back piece, and as you can see, this fabric is folded into 2. I used my biggest body measurements to cut out this piece, but at the center back I added 2 inches for the zipper allowance. Now I'm just going to place the front piece on the back piece like this. I will arrange the both pieces together so that everything will sit properly. So go ahead and do the same thing. Place your front piece on your back piece just the way you see me doing. So here on the center back, I left 2 inches zipper allowance. So I went on to measure the zipper allowance and I discovered that I didn't place the front piece properly. So I adjusted the front piece so that I will be able to have the 2 inches zipper allowance that I left. Although I later reduced the zipper allowance to 1 inch later on in this video. So when I measured this from top to bottom, I had the 2 inches zipper allowance that I'm working with. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to mark our waistline measurement on the back piece so that we will work on the zipper bulge. After tracing the waistline on the center back, the next thing I did is to trim out the side. So I used my scissors to trim out the shoulder slant, the armhole, all through the side down to the length of the dress. Now the next thing I'm going to be working on is the back neckline. So from the shoulder line, I came down by 1.5 inches and I make a mark. The neck width remained 2.5 inches. So now I'm just going to use my freehand to connect the 2 points together to create a round neckline. After that, I will use my scissors to cut it out. Now the next thing we are going to do is to reduce the zipper bulge. So I have 2 inches for my zipper allowance, which I think that it is too much. So I decided to reduce the zipper allowance to 1 inch. So from the top right here, I went on to mark 1 inch from top all the way down to the length of the back piece. After marking all the points, I'm just going to use my chalk to connect all these points together on a straight line. Now I'm just going to use my scissors to cut this out. Now to reduce the zipper bulge, here on the waistline, I came in by 1/2 inch and I make a mark. Now I'm going to use my ruler to connect this point that I marked 1/2 inch to the neckline just the way you see me doing. And I will also connect this mark to the hip line just like this. So guys, we have successfully eliminated any form of zipper bulge. So now I'm just going to cut this out. Now we are done drafting the front and the back piece. I'm going to keep this aside while we work on the sleeve. I will be using another piece of fabric to draft the sleeve, and as you can see, this piece is folded into 2. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to trim off this rough edge so that I will have a clean starting line. After trimming off this edge, now I'm just going to create the sleeve armhole curve like this. I'm sure you already know how to create the sleeve armhole curve. If you don't, I have a video on how to draft a proper sleeve, so I'm going to leave the video link on end screen. Make sure you check it out. After creating the sleeve armhole curve, the next thing is to measure the armhole on the dress to get the exact measurement we are working with. So from this dress shoulder, I came down by 1/2 inch before I measure what I have left on the armhole. This 1/2 inch that I came down by is for the shoulder joining. I had 10 inches when I measured the armhole, so on the sleeve armhole curve, I'm just going to measure the 10 inches and I make a mark. Now from the sleeve cap, this is my sleeve cap, I'm going to measure down to 8 inches for my round sleeve measurement. On this point, I mark 8 inches. I'm going to divide my round sleeve measurement by 2 and I will mark it. My round sleeve sleeve measurement is 12, divide by 2 is 6. I marked the 6 inches, then I added 1 inch for sewing allowance. After that, I'm just going to use my chalk to connect the 2 points together like this. Still placing my measuring tape on the sleeve cap, I'm going to measure all the way down to the length of my sleeve. The length of my sleeve is 23 inches normally, so I marked that. Now from this point I mark the length of my sleeve. I'm still going to come down by 5 inches, making the total length of the sleeve 28 inches, and I make a mark. Now I'm going to use my ruler to connect this point on a horizontal line like this, and the width of this fold is 15 inches, which is perfect for the bell sleeve effect. Now I'm just going to use my chalk to connect the lines together like this. Now to create the stylish curve on the sleeve, I'm just going to place my curve ruler like this. Okay, my curve ruler will be touching the curve part of the ruler will be touching my normal sleeve length and the edge of the total sleeve length. I will use my chalk to create a curvy line just like this. Then after that, I'm just going to cut this out, and that's it. That's basically it. So this is how our sleeve looks like. So I'm going to place this sleeve on another pieces of fabric, and I will cut the second piece out. So guys, I'm done cutting out the second sleeve, and this is what it looks like. We are done with the drafting part of this tutorial. So in my next video, we are going to be joining all the pieces together to create the dress. For now, bye. I will see you in my next video.